I've met up with Casey here on the IBM Industries booth at Distributech. Casey, I've spent the last couple of days chatting with many of your team, with Brad and Mahesh, with many of the solution leaders. And the way you can tie together the different solutions and intelligent workflows and hybrid multi-cloud. Now I'm an engineer, I've been selling the technology for years. How do you make all that work?
I wouldn't say it's not easy, but it can be a little bit complicated. The key for us, and I'm the cloud lead for the industry, so what I do is I focus on how to enable greater cloud adoption of either technology, infrastructure, software for our clients to best get the value out of these. And
right.
The solutions you've seen in our booth and some of the added value we can create for our utilities clients through the integration of data absolutely requires new environments and new applications of technology, either behind the firewall or in public environments, to allow for better integration and better leveraging of what we already have as legacy data sets, as well as the new data we will either collect or we'll be able to now get access to through things like the Pairs platform and other sorts of weather that all needs to come together and then pull out the value to deliver that differentiated outcome for our clients. It's a very exciting space to work, but given some of the challenges or how would I say, special characteristics of our industry, some things are easier to do than others.
Well, you get into all sorts of regulation as to where the data can reside.
Exactly.
On-prem, or here in the US you have the NERC SIP, and then. But if I may, a lot of the folks may not live in the world of cloud or live in the world of maybe the two of us came from, but they'd be familiar, well, we have a data center and we buy lots of apps and we load lots of stuff in there. And then they hear of cloud and they hear of Amazon and IBM and Google and Azure and then. How do you actually make all this stuff work in terms of is it back to the old enterprise service bus and everyone writes their connectors, or?
So good question. So what we are trying to focus on now with some of our key clients, we're trying to start the adoption of what I call cloud native. For me personally, I'm the cloud leader, but for me even I try to stay away from the term cloud because there's so much emotion around it, especially when you think about finance or regulation. Some people have a reaction that's very bad. So cloud native is more about how do I get the characteristics of what cloud gives me? What is it fundamentally? Elasticity, on-demand resources, and faster speed to value.
Okay.
If I can do that in multiple environments, when we talk about the hybrid multi-cloud, is really where it makes sense for me, either from a data gravity because it's too big and I can't bring it on-prem.
Yeah, because some people think about, I just moved the data, and it's like, well, if you try and move the satellite.
If it's 10 petabytes, it's not coming home.
You need a truck.
It's not coming home. So the best we can do then is take a sliver, and if you need it in the data center, we can do that, but even better would be take the relevant either GIS or overlay you need, and then create a filter somewhere in the middle, which is really that integration layer.
Right.
Where we're finding that is a key in terms of addressing what I would call technical debt that a lot of our clients have with direct integration points across major packages, asset, CIS, billing, and others. These are connected with lock and key, if you will. API and integration layers like Kubernetes, as well as some of the new ways service meshes, et cetera, allow for almost an ice skating rink, if you will, where we can bring in and move out different pieces of the stack and make them connect much faster, as well as then I can change pieces, and as long as I'm doing an API, I don't break everything.
I don't have to reintegrate everything and start again from
We were
scratch.
speaking with a client the other day who essentially used in the multiple hundreds of thousands for every upgrade that they use for their CRM system. Because of how many touch points there are, they get to go pay a lucky service integrator
a lot of money
monthly to do these upgrades because of the way that their stack is built. That is the old technology that we are trying to move our clients towards, and Red Hat and the cloud packs and a lot of the things you see in our booth, as well as not just our cloud technology but our partners as well, are allowing our clients to do new things like that to leverage these data sets, and it's very exciting.
Now, I was chatting to somebody earlier today, and I was over with IBM, and I said, and the Red Hat stuff, and the answer came back. An IT guy said, Red Hat's part of IBM.
That's a good answer. I mean, no, the key for us fundamentally was and I think Ginny said it best on stage when we announced it was, Red Hat is valuable because they're Red Hat.
Yep.
Red Hat needs to stay Red Hat.
Yeah, true. It does its own thing.
No, Red Hat needs to stay Red Hat, and as well, I mean, the value for Red Hat is this network of the open source network for the development, as well as for its open network of partners that leverage their technology. And so, even though we may compete with some of those partners, and we compete
it's co-opetition
very strongly.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, within the context of that business, the key for us is allowing them to maintain their independence, and that's really the value for us. And then what we get to benefit from that is a tighter integration with their teams who are taking the best from the open source development teams, creating commercial projects when we can grab and integrate into the IBM stack.
And many of your colleagues were talking about Red Hat's OpenShift.
Yes.
For folks that wouldn't live in the eat and breathe the cloud world. What does that give you?
Again, I would put it in the context of a cloud native environment. So when we think about a platform, one of the most powerful things you can do with cloud is if I'm a developer and I want to create a new app, like let's talk about the Watson conversational APIs.
Yeah.
I can go into the IBM Cloud Platform and provision an environment, we don't need to go with the term, and apply those APIs to that environment in minutes.
Okay.
That is done in a container. So therefore, when I bring OpenShift into my data center and I provided essentially a collection of vCPU and RAM, virtualized servers, I now give myself that functionality that I only used to get in a public environment within my data center.
Okay.
So then I hand that to either my business teams or my developers, and they're off to the races. It's very exciting.
Wow, so it's speeding up the whole, it takes down a lot of the barriers, as you say, in terms of the, oh God, I have to go build my own data center and do all this stuff.
As well as when you think about regulatory considerations of where data is kept, it can all stay where it is. I just get to leverage it differently.
And as you say, cloud native, because you're using the same techniques, technologies.
That's it.
On-prem, off-prem, it doesn't matter.
That's it.
Hey, good stuff.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Cheers.
a lot.